This video is an excerpt from Mike's broader October 2025 presentation titled Frankfurt, Tavistock, Marxism and the Beatles. It provides a quick overview of why the McCartney and Beatles conspiracy is important to understand. The description box below provides the link to the full presentation that further explores the conspiracy based on Mike's research.
The replacement of Paul McCartney in late 1966 is important because when he was replaced by Billy Shears, very few people noticed. Yes, there was a segment of the fan base that looked at the Sgt. Pepper album cover and noticed something was off about McCartney. They noted that he looked different, but then again, so did all the other Beatles. Gone were the mop tops and suits. The new look featured the Beatles with longer hair and mustaches dressed in colorful band outfits. What the Controllers did was to change the entire look of the band so that Billy, now playing the role of McCartney, would not stand out. This included placing Billy within the intricate and colorful cover art of the album, which further diverted attention from him as the fan looked at the panacea of psychedelic visuals. Anyone questioning if the guy on the album cover was really Paul McCartney would eventually resolve their intrigue by thinking, who else could it be other than Paul McCartney? It has to be him. No one was thinking in terms of a conspiracy about Paul being replaced. As time passed, the doubters faded away, the questions subsided, and Billy successfully became Paul. This was a significant accomplishment by Tavistock and the band's handlers. They were able to replace one of the most well-known musicians and entertainers in the world with an imposter, and virtually no one noticed. The significance of this achievement from the perspective of the social engineers cannot be overstated. This was a crucial outcome. By successfully swapping out McCartney, they could conceivably replace anyone. From a Tavistock and Deep State perspective, the replacement of Paul McCartney proved to be a resounding success. The Beatles were created as a result of a Deep State strategy to influence the masses to adopt a different set of values and beliefs. The creation of the Beatles as a massive psychological operation illustrates the extent to which the control system will go to socially engineer the population to achieve its end-state objectives. The Beatles were a cultural phenomenon by any measure. Their impact on society's beliefs, values, and behavior is highly significant. Their influence is still present in the minds of millions of fans today. The Beatles were marketed as something new and significant, particularly among young people who subscribe to the counterculture mindset of free love, drugs, and opposition to anything considered oppressive, whether real or imagined. Many Beatle fans, particularly those who are devoted followers, exhibit cult-like behavior. The bond between the band is so strong that even though the group broke up 55 years ago, millions of fans across the world continue to idolize and worship them in a godlike manner. The argument I hear over and over is that the music is great, so how can that be a bad thing? I agree that the music is great, but it is music with an agenda. One of the unfortunate downsides of the Beatles' narrative is the psychological programming has conditioned the minds of superior musicians and songwriters to believe that their talent and skills will always be inferior to the brilliance of the Fab Four. This is a clear indication of the programming's effectiveness. To believe that the Beatles achieved their accomplishments organically or by escaping the control system is naive. Nothing as significant as the Beatles comes about naturally. The direction of society and culture is fundamentally altered by the manufacturing and implementation of significant events and movements. The Deep State created the Beatles to carry out an agenda that was based on Marxist ideology. The Beatles were not just a band, they were and still are a Marxist zeitgeist. Now to answer the question, why the Beatles conspiracy is important. The conspiracy is significant because it includes all the elements of how the control system manipulates the masses. To start with, it illustrates how the power of music, a form of media that conveys emotions, ideas, and values, can be used as a powerful tool to indoctrinate a population with new morals, beliefs, and lifestyles. It reveals the power of creating cults of personality in the form of Pied Pipers to guide the masses. It provides insight into the psychological techniques used in mass manipulation, as well as the ideologies and tactics of the controllers, which are based in Marxism. It helps us identify the people and groups who form the Deep State, such as the Frankfurt School in Tavistock, as well as the connections to aristocratic bloodlines and secret societies. It demonstrates how the principles of the occult and the theologies of the cult of Pan, the Lema, the Kabbalah, Luciferianism, and Satanism are woven into world events and movements. The Beatles conspiracy serves as a model for decoding other conspiracies since it encompasses many of the tools used to social engineer and brainwash. Understanding the players, motives, and mechanisms used by the deep state to manipulate our minds can help us decode and recognize other efforts by the control system to deceive and reshape humanity. Knowing who your enemy is and how they operate is essential for defeating them. Since 2016, when I began researching the Beatles' unofficial narrative, followers of my research have stated that this conspiracy was their red pill. The conspiracy broke down the wall of illusion and pulled back the curtain to expose the great odds working behind the scenes. It opened a door that made people aware that there are no sacred cows, and we should question everything that has been fed to us by this artificial construct known as pop culture. George Harrison said it well when he told us, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there."